Hey guys, so we're going to kind of continue on. We talked about percent as a proportion the other day. Some people really like to do that one. I also wanted to show you a way that you could solve it as an equation. I have some kids that really like to do it this way too. So this is the percent equation. This is how you're going to set your notebook up. So you'll cut those little yellow pieces of paper apart. You're going to write this at the top. If you notice, I've left a little bit of space, and you're going to set this up this way. And then put your white paper in over here. Okay? So go ahead and pause and get this set up, and then come back. All right. So when we talked about this percent proportion, we talked about there being two ways you can set up the proportion. You can set up as part over whole equals percent over 100. Or you can set it up as is over of equals percent over 100. Now, if you notice this time, we do have a percent sign. The reason that is because we don't have that number over 100. So we have to put the percent sign in if we don't have it over 100. That's telling us it's percent. Like I said before, we have it blank over 100, so that is what represented the percent. This time it's going to be just this P over this P percent. So you would put the number in here and then put your percent sign. I'm flipping back one page. So this whole thing here represented the percent. This whole thing now represents the percent. All right, so I'm going to talk about my favorite first, part and whole. We can use those, what we understood about the proportions to figure it out the same way with this. So the way that you would do this is, for this one, your part is going to be your A. Okay, whatever you would plug in, whatever your part is for that A. Okay, like I just said, this whole thing here is going to be your percent. You put your percent in there. If you're looking for your percent, this is where the variable would be, which means this last one over here is your whole. Okay, so thinking about this, and if you think about what percents are, they're a percent of something. This is going to be your percent of your whole equals your part. Okay, so you would multiply your percent times your whole, and you get the part. But we can have this as an equation because we don't have to just solve for the part. We can solve for different aspects of this equation, and we'll look at that in a minute. Now, if you like the is and of better, this is what it would look like. So your is, or what it equals, and it kind of looks like it with this equation. So this would be your is. Remember, that means equals. Once again, this would be your percent. And this time, this would be your of. So percent of, since we actually, remember when they're side by side, we're really multiplying, something is this. So that kind of makes sense with that equation. But anyway, so this is where you would plug in those parts from that that we talked about the other day with the percent proportion. So first things first, let's look at this problem. And I want to tell you, you will hear me say this a zillion times this year. Write your formulas first, okay? We did it the other day. So remember, we wrote our formulas, or we wrote basically our formulas, or I guess that's what you would call that, first, and then we plug in what we knew. We're going to do the same thing today. So for this one, we have on June 14th, 2002, the distance between Earth and the moon was about 375,000 kilometers. On that day, a traveling asteroid missed Earth by about 32% of that distance. How far away from Earth was the asteroid? So we need to think about with these numbers, what are we looking for? What can we plug in? What do we know? Okay, so I'm going to write my percent equation first. I'm going to do it over here. So I'm going to have that A equals P percent times B. Now, I already can plug in something that's super easy. Remember I told you, when we have sorry, I'm trying to find my colors that I want to use. When we have a percent, that is the easiest thing to plug in. Okay, so with that 32%, we know that that's going to go in here as my P percent. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in as that 32%. Remember, this time we're going to keep the percent sign. I'm going to put this equal. Now I got to think about what else I know. Do I know the part, or do I know the whole? So we know that the distance between Earth and 375,000 kilometers. Okay? So, Moon, Earth. We know that this distance, the whole thing, is 375,000 kilometers. We know that a traveling asteroid missed the Earth by about 32% of that distance. So if they were talking about 32% of this whole distance, then this number here has to be our whole. We are looking for the part, okay? So this whole distance, only 32% of it is what it was missed Earth by. So we're looking for the part this time. So I'm going to fill in here, and I'm going to put parentheses around it because remember, it means we're multiplying. Okay, and we are looking for our A, so we can just leave that as that A. Now, very cool thing with these calculators that I love. So if you have one of these calculators, you can just put a percent in. We can put this exact problem in. Okay, the way that you're going to do that is you would do 32. Now, let's look for the percent sign. Let's look for it. Oh, there it is, and it's purple, right above that little parentheses. How do we get to the purple ones? We push the second. So 32% times 37500. So there's your answer. So it would be, it missed us by 12,000 miles or kilometers, wherever, kilometers, okay? So that is how you would do that one. Now, let me show you another thing though. What if we don't have calculators? But this year you don't have calculators all the time pretty much, so don't worry about it. But if you did not have a calculator, let me show you what you would have to do. So I'm going to come over here. We would set it up the same way. A equals 32% times 375,000. Okay? Now, if you didn't have a calculator, we have to change this to a decimal. So without a calculator, sorry y'all. Let me find something that. If you don't have a calculator, you have to change percent to the decimal. Okay, so that's what we're going to do really quick. So let's look back 2 pages, and we're going to see, okay, to go from a percent to a decimal, what do we need to do? We need to get rid of the percent sign. We need to move the decimal 2 places to the left. Okay, so right now, this is 32%. So we would get rid of this, and right now the decimal's here, so we're going to go 1, 2, and so my decimal would then be A equals 0.32, percent sign's gone, times 375,000. Okay, so we can put that in our calculator. Well, we don't have a calculator, so you would have to do it like longhand, but we're not going to do that. I'm just going to show you it's the same thing. So we could do 0.32 times 375, 1, 2, 3, and that equals the exact same thing. That whoa, maybe I didn't put enough zeros in it, did I? Huh? This one could actually be 120,000. Sorry, y'all. Get rid of that and put it there. So it should be 120,000. So the part would be that A equals 120,000 kilometers, okay? But right now, like I said, we're just going to assume that we'll have a calculator, so we're not going to worry about that part right now. All right, so now we come to what percent of 25 is 60. All right, so I'm going to write my formula first. A, write it down. A equals P percent times B. Sorry, this pen's about to be crazy because it's about to die. So let's think about what we have. What percent? So we are looking for that percent this time. That is what we're looking for. Of 25, well, I'm going to go ahead and look it up here. Of, we know goes in here, okay, is 60. So the is part is up here on this side. So if it's kind of funky, and you'll see why in a second. So I would put that 60 in as your A equals P percent times 25, okay? Now, to solve this, I want you to think back to when we were solving our cross-multiplying things. We need to get this P percent by itself. So to get that by itself, we have to do what? Okay, yeah, we have to divide by 25 on both sides. So we're going to divide by 25. We're going to divide by 25. These cancel out. The other part I'm putting in my calculator. So I will do 60 divided by 25, which is going to be 2.4 equals P percent. Okay, well, right now I don't know what the percent is because the percent sign is still stuck over there. So now I need to take this decimal and I need to make it into a percent. We'll go back here. Remember, right here's this highlighted one, decimal to percent. Move the decimal point 2 places to the right and put a percent sign. So I'm going to go do that. So we're going to go 1. Well, there's not another right, so I know I got to go here. And there's going to be a 0. So it would be 240% equals P. So it's more than 100%, which makes sense because 25 is less than 60. So if you doubled it, that would be 200%. And that would be 50. And this is 60, so it's even more than that, 200%. Because 100% would be 25, 200 would be 50, and then 60 would be 240%. All right, last practice or last example. Once again, we are going to write our equation. A equals P percent times B. And we're going to fill in what we know. Your friend paid $9 for a movie ticket. This amount was 72% of the total. What's another word for total? Another word for total is whole. Amount your friend spent at the theater. Okay? How much money did your friend spend? So we know the percent. We know the part. We are looking for the whole. Okay, so we need to plug that stuff in. What we know. So we know the part is 9. The percent, 72%. The whole, we don't know that. So that's going to be B. So once again, we are solving for B. So what do? We are going to divide both sides by that 72%. You have to divide by the whole thing. So if we're 9, we're going to divide by 72%. So in my calculator, just like we talked about, I'm going to do 9 divided by 72 second parentheses. There's my percent sign equals 12.5. So 12.5 equals B. So what is 12.5 really like with money? That would tell us it was $12.50 that they spent at the movies.